My niece laughed. She's only confident because she has money and no kids. My mom wiped tears from her eyes from laughing. I kissed my grandma on the cheek, said thank you for dinner and left. By morning, every subscription, payment and auto transfer I covered was gone. So was their peace. Kaylee shoved a forkful of macaroni into her mouth, snorted, and said I was only confident because I had money and no kids ruining my body or my sleep. Jill let out one of those short laughs she does when she's trying not to seem jealous but can't help herself. My mom leaned back in her chair, actually wiping tears from her eyes from laughing so hard. They weren't even joking. That was the part that got me. They genuinely believed that my life, my peace, my success, my confidence, was some kind of lucky accident. That I hadn't worked 3 jobs through college. That I hadn't been passed over, underestimated, then fought tooth and nail for every promotion. That I hadn't built my life exactly how I wanted it, without dragging 3 generations of mistakes behind me. I didn't say anything. I just watched them, all 3 of them, sitting around Grandma's table like they'd earned the right to laugh at me. Like I hadn't been the one keeping them above water for the past 8 years. So I stood up, kissed Grandma on the cheek and said thanks for dinner. That was it. I walked out before I said something I couldn't take back. By 7 a.m. the next morning I was logged into every account tied to my name. And there were a lot. I started with Kaylee. She had no idea that her Uber account, her phone bill, her Apple Music, even the beauty subscription box that showed up every month, all ran through my card. Deleted. Cancelled. Logged out on all devices. Jill was next. The car she drove wasn't hers. It was mine. She'd begged me to co-sign 3 years ago, promised she'd handle the payments. She lasted 2 months before falling behind. I'd been covering it ever since. So I logged into the lease company's site and hit the cancel button on autopay. Her insurance too. Gone. Mom's was the longest list. Internet. Cable. A second fridge in the garage I paid the electric bill for. Even her dental plan, which she somehow still doesn't know I've been paying for. All gone. Then I checked the shared grocery account I'd set up for them, with weekly deliveries to Mom's address. I deleted it entirely. Same with the emergency fund I'd built in my own savings account titled Family, with a few thousand in it. I transferred every cent out and shut it down. I didn't text. I didn't call. I didn't explain. By 9:15, Kaylee was texting me that something was wrong with her card. Then she tried to log into Netflix and Hulu and every other app that had suddenly kicked her out. Jill called half an hour later. She was locked out of her car. The leasing company's automatic lock feature had activated after a missed payment. Mom didn't even text. She called directly. 3 times. Then left a voicemail that started with, "Are you serious right now?" and turned into full-on screaming before I hung up. Only Grandma stayed silent. Except a few hours later she called me and asked if I wanted to come over for lunch and heat up leftovers from the night before. That was it. No questions. No drama. I told her I'd bring dessert. I could already feel the storm building behind me. But I wasn't turning around. Not this time. They forgot who was paying attention. That's the only way I can explain how bold they'd gotten. For years I let things slide. Snide comments about how some people have all the free time in the world. Passive digs when I bought myself something nice. Wish I could drop money like that. Must be nice to be single with no responsibilities. They forgot I heard everything. Every insult dressed up as a joke. Every time I picked up the check only to hear later that I was trying to show off. Every family gathering where I was treated like a guest with a wallet instead of a daughter or sister. The truth is I didn't care about the money. I cared about how they acted like they were owed it. Kaylee texted me 9 times that day. It started with, "Hey, I think the card's messed up, can you check?" Then moved to, "Is something going on?" Then finally, "Wow. Really mature of you." Jill didn't text. She sent a voice message, one of those fake calm ones where you can hear the anger behind every word. She asked why I was doing this out of nowhere, said she couldn't afford to miss work over some tantrum, and ended with, "This isn't just affecting you, Wendy." That line stuck with me. It wasn't just affecting me, that was the point. They'd built their lives around me without even realizing it. 100 little dependencies they'd stopped being grateful for. Kaylee had never made a full car payment on her own. Jill had stopped checking her balance before she filled her cart. My mom didn't even know the passwords to her own streaming accounts. It all unraveled fast. By that weekend, I started getting calls from numbers I didn't recognize. One was the local pharmacy. My mom's refill had been denied because the insurance card on file was inactive. Another was from Jill's leasing agent. Apparently, she'd used my name and information when she renegotiated her lease without telling me. The agent was calling me to discuss late fees. So now they weren't just angry. They were panicking. The next day, Jill showed up at my place. I didn't answer the door. She stayed out there for almost 10 minutes before giving up. No note, no apology. Just a storm of texts afterward, accusing me of humiliating the family. They were unraveling without me, and the funny thing was, I felt calm for the first time in years. I went to Grandma's the next night with groceries, sat in her kitchen while she peeled apples for pie. She didn't bring it up until we were halfway through dinner. Then she just asked if I was okay. I told her I was tired. He said she knew. And that maybe it was finally time I stopped acting like it was my job to keep broken things from falling apart. I stayed until almost midnight. When I left, she hugged me and said, "Don't let them guilt you into rebuilding what they broke themselves." I didn't plan revenge. I just stopped saving them. And that, it turns out, was worse. By Monday, the gloves were off. My mom started a group text with me, Jill, and Kaylee. The first message was long, 3 scrolling screens of guilt, accusations, and emotional blackmail. It started with, "I don't know what we did to deserve this," and ended with, "You've always thought you were better than us." I didn't reply. Jill followed up separately, saying Mom was stressed and that I needed to stop punishing everyone just because I'm lonely. Kaylee posted something on her story clearly aimed at me. A screenshot of her empty account balance with the caption, "Some people only help you so they can control you." What none of them realized was that their version of control was always expecting me to fix everything without question, like it was my role in the family. By Wednesday, I got a knock on my door. It was Jill again. She didn't come alone this time, she brought Mom. They were both dressed like they hadn't slept in 2 days. I didn't invite them in. Jill asked if they could just talk like adults. I said we could talk on the porch. They didn't want to talk. They wanted me to reverse it all. Mom started in immediately. Her prescriptions, the overdue internet bill, the embarrassing moment she had at the pharmacy. She was almost yelling by the time she mentioned the TV being off for 2 days straight. Jill jumped in next, complaining about how her car was now flagged and how her credit had taken a hit. She said it was irresponsible of me to cancel things without notice. I let them go on for a while. Then I asked one question. "Did any of you laugh when Kaylee made that comment at dinner?" They didn't answer. I told them I wasn't angry about that one moment, that it was just the final straw, that I'd spent years giving, and every time I did, it was met with entitlement instead of thanks. Mom said something about family sticking together. Jill brought up Grandma, saying she shouldn't be caught in the middle. That's when I told them exactly what I'd done. I shifted every dollar I'd been spending on them to Grandma. Her fridge, now stocked weekly with deliveries. Her prescriptions, set up with premium insurance and home delivery. Her bills, on autopay. I even hired someone to deep clean her house twice a month. Everything they took for granted, Grandma was now receiving without ever asking. They stood there in silence. Then Kaylee showed up. Apparently she'd been in the car the whole time. She came up the steps and asked if I could just do the Netflix thing again because it's really not that deep. That was the end of the conversation. I told them we were done. Not just the money, the expectation, the assumed loyalty, the guilt they tossed around like it was currency. All of it. Jill tried to guilt-trip me on the spot. Said I was turning my back on my own blood. Mom said Grandma would be ashamed if she knew how cold I was being. I laughed once, not loud, not cruel, just enough to make it clear I wasn't moved. "Grandma knows everything," I said. Then I went back inside and closed the door. They didn't knock again. The first week after that was quiet. Too quiet. No more texts. No calls. No guilt-tripping messages or guilt-soaked emojis. Just silence. And it was the most revealing part of all. Because when I wasn't giving them anything, they had no use for me. No small talk. No check-ins. No, "Hey, how are you doing?" They didn't even fake it. The connection between us had always been transactional. They just didn't realize I knew that too. Meanwhile, Grandma was thriving. She called me one morning to say thank you because someone had just come to clean the gutters, and she had no idea who arranged it. I told her not to worry. I'd already hired someone to mow her lawn and clear snow in the winter too. She cried. Quietly, not dramatically. The kind of cry you hear when someone feels safe for the first time in a long time. I was finally using my money on someone who never expected it and still tried to give back. She tried to pay me with jars of jam and crocheted pot holders. I let her. While the rest of them sat in a group chat stewing, I spent my afternoons with Grandma in her warm little kitchen, eating whatever she made and watching her enjoy her life without a single overdue notice on the fridge. But silence can't hold forever. On the 10th day, Kaylee broke. She showed up again, this time alone. No warning. Just rang my doorbell at 9 p.m. like we were friends. She was crying before I even opened the screen door. Said she was scared. That she'd fallen behind on her car payments. That her credit score dropped over 100 points. That she didn't know how to pay for her phone bill this month. Then she said she couldn't believe I was letting her suffer when I had the money to fix it. Letting her suffer. I asked her one thing. Did you ever say thank you? For any of it? She stared at me confused. As if the concept was foreign. Then she started down the same path her mom did. Told me I was bitter, that I didn't understand how hard life was for people who didn't have the luxury of being alone. She said Grandma was old and didn't need that much help and that I was wasting money on someone who was going to die soon anyway. I opened the door wider, not to let her in, but to show her the way off my porch. She left swearing at me. I went inside and sat at the kitchen table for a long time. Not angry. Just still. They hadn't changed. Not a bit. The only difference now was that the mask had slipped. The politeness, the fake gratitude, the performance. Gone. All that was left was what had always been underneath. Entitlement. They wanted the faucet turned back on, but not one of them planned to fix the leak. And I was done flooding my life for people who would never swim on their own. Thanksgiving came and the silence cracked. Grandma invited everyone as always. She didn't pick sides. She believed people should sit at the same table at least once a year, even if they spent the other 364 avoiding each other. I told her I'd be there and that I'd bring dessert. She didn't ask about the others, just told me to come early so she could show me the new wool blanket she'd bought with the extra money I sent. The one she called her warm little miracle. I showed up with 2 pies and a bottle of wine. When I walked into her kitchen, I swear she looked 10 years younger. There were fresh flowers on the table, a new light fixture overhead, and the carpet she used to hate had been replaced with something soft and gray. Everything about her house looked brighter. I helped her set the table. She was humming. It had been years since I heard her hum. Then the doorbell rang. Jill walked in first, holding a casserole like it was a peace offering. She gave me a short nod, then went straight to the kitchen. My mom followed, more awkward. And behind them, Kaylee, eyes down, earbuds in, barely acknowledging anyone. No one said a word to me directly. We sat. We passed dishes. We chewed. And for about 15 minutes it almost felt normal. Then Jill brought it up. She didn't say my name. She just said, loud enough for the table, that some people forget that family's supposed to take care of each other. That some people like to flaunt their success instead of lifting others up. Grandma kept eating. Then Mom joined in. She said she'd been struggling, that her medication cost more now, that she had to choose between heat and groceries one week. She said it while looking right at me. I didn't speak. I just reached into my bag and pulled out an envelope. Inside were 3 copies of a printed spreadsheet. I'd made a list of every payment, every transfer, every bill I'd covered for each of them. Color-coded, dated, totaled. I slid them across the table. Jill refused to touch hers. Kaylee flipped it open, read the first 2 lines and froze. My mom actually gasped. None of them had known the real amount. Thousands and thousands of dollars. Rent. Gas. Difference. Groceries. Debt payments. Streaming services. I even listed the birthday gifts I'd bought that they never said thank you for. Then I told them something simple, that I wasn't angry, just done. Kaylee looked like she might cry again. Jill said the spreadsheet was dramatic. Mom started to say she never asked for all that, but Grandma cut her off. She didn't raise her voice. She just said, you didn't have to ask. You expected it. And that was it. We finished the meal in silence. Jill didn't even touch her casserole. Kaylee disappeared into the guest room for a bit, probably to text someone about how unfair life is. When it was time to go, I stood up, hugged Grandma, and handed her another envelope. This one with a prepaid cruise ticket inside. Just for her. No one else. She opened it slowly. Her hands were shaking. Then she whispered, you shouldn't have. I said, but I wanted to. The rest of the table stared, speechless. For the first time in years, they finally understood what it looked like when I gave because I wanted to, not because they made me feel like I had to. They wanted a show, so I gave them one. They didn't speak to me for weeks after Thanksgiving. No calls. No texts. Not even passive-aggressive social media posts. Just silence. But it wasn't the quiet kind anymore. It was the kind loaded with bitterness. I could feel it even without hearing from them. And I didn't care. The truth is, they weren't really upset about the money. They were upset they lost control. Because once they couldn't rely on me, they were forced to face the lives they'd built. Lives balanced on my wallet like a crutch. Without it, they couldn't pretend to have it together. They couldn't play the role of struggling victims while mocking the one person who actually did something about her life. I didn't chase them. I didn't check in. I didn't apologize for anything. Instead, I focused on Grandma. She went on the cruise, her first vacation in over 30 years. She sent me postcards from each port, handwritten, with little notes about how she tried new foods and danced with strangers and watched the ocean until her eyes watered. I framed one of them. The one that said, "You gave me time." I didn't know how much I needed that. I bought myself a new car that month. Nothing flashy, just clean, quiet mine. I posted a picture of it with Grandma in the passenger seat, smiling so hard her eyes were nearly shut. That photo got more comments than anything I'd ever posted. Jill didn't say a word. Kaylee commented a single emoji, the eye roll one. I deleted it. Then in late January, the silence finally broke. Jill texted, "Hey, can we talk? Mom's sick. She might need help." It was bait. And I didn't take it. Instead, I texted back, "You should call her doctor. Or her insurance." She replied with, "Wow. So this is who you are now." I didn't answer. Because no, this isn't who I am now. This is who I was all along. They just never bothered to see me as anything other than what I could give. I still see Grandma every week. I pay her bills gladly, not out of obligation, but out of love. She never takes it for granted. She still tries to hand me cash when I walk through the door, and I still pretend not to see it. The rest of them? They're learning how to live without me. They can hate me if they want. Roll their eyes. Gossip behind my back. None of it matters now. Because peace isn't something I owe anyone. Especially not people who only noticed me when it cost them something to lose me.